I do invite you taking the hands, heart center, chest, that Anjali Mudra today. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. I do invite you, releasing the hands, just placing the palms on our knees today. We're going to practice a few neck stretches, so I invite you just taking the neck to the right side. And we're going to take that right hand just beside us on the mat. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. I now invite you, taking the head to center, deep breath in as we float that right hand towards the sky. Follow with that yogi gaze here, taking left hand to the side of us on the mat, extending that right arm over towards that left side, finding that seated side stretch today. Taking a few breaths here. I now invite you, we're going to start walking the hands over to that right side of the mat, placing right hand to the mat, big circle with the left arm up and over, settling to that side stretch. Taking a few breaths in this moment. We're going to now start that circular motion, left hand to the ground, walking hands over to that left side, left hand to the mat, big circle with that right arm up to the sky as you settle to that side stretch. Making that movement again, start walking those hands over to the right side of your mat, right palm to the mat, big circle up with that left arm. Taking left hand, walking those hands, both of them over to the left side, left palm to the mat, big circle with that right arm as you settle to that side stretch. I do invite you, get into your own movement here, your own flow and breath. Few more times each side. And start walking the hands towards the center. Exhale. We're going to hang out here for 5 breaths. Just inhale through the nose. Sigh it out through the mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. I now invite you, walking those hands closer into your body, settling back to that easy pose today. I invite you, take the left hand to the outside, placing the palm on the mat as you take that gaze over to the right shoulder. Take a few breaths right where you are. And I invite you, just find that easy pose today. We're going to take an inhale, floating those hands high overhead. Taking those hands on Jali Mudra, heart center chest. Sigh it out through the mouth. I now invite you, we're going to take the body to that tabletop. All fours today. We're going to practice our cow and our cat, but we're going to be continuing the movement between each pose. Taking an inhale, dropping that belly open through the chest, yogi gaze upward. Exhale, chin to the chest, navel to that spine, gaze to the mat. And then automatically inhale, drop that belly, open that chest, yogi gaze upward. Exhale, chin to the chest, navel to that spine. Get into a little flow here of movement and breath. Being mindful, letting that spine, imagine it's fluid, moving through that body. You want that fluidity going through that body with the movement, adding that breath with each inhale, gaze up, exhale, gaze down. And take it back to that tabletop today. So we're going to walk the hands a little further in front of us. We're going to start tucking those toes. Deep breath in, floating hips to the sky. We're going to find that downward facing dog today. I do invite you to lift through the tippy toes. We're going to hold and breathe 5 breaths. In through the nose. Sigh it out through the mouth. Letting the heels come closer to the mat. It's okay if those heels don't go all the way to the mat. Be mindful of where your body is in this posture. So we're going to start that fluid movement. Lift through those tippy toes. Take it to plank. And then sink the hips back to the feet, keeping knees away from the mat. Deep breath in, float the hips to the sky. Heels closer to the mat, to that downward facing dog. Exhale. Inhale, transition that body to plank. Slight bend in the knees, then sink the hips back to the heels. Inhale, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. A few more times here. Inhale, transition that body to your plank. Then start bending those knees, hips to the heels of the feet. And then take it back to that downward facing dog. Exhale. Inhale, bending those knees. Sink the heels back to the feet. Hold and breathe 3 breaths. Deep inhale, transition here. Tippy toes, hips to the sky. Exhale, find that downward facing dog. Inhale, make that transition to your strong plank. And we're gonna release the left knee to the mat. We're gonna go into that modified side plank as we float right hand to the sky. Follow with that yogi gaze. Making the transition, right hand to the mat. Extending left leg back, finding our plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, transition to that plank. Right knee to the mat. Make that adjustment as you go into that modified side plank. We're going to transition that body back to our plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. So we're now going to start bending the knees, sinking the hips closer to those heels. Lift the hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, find that strong plank. Left knee to the mat. Make that adjustment. Float that right hand to the sky, finding that modified side plank. Transition, right hand to the mat. Extending left foot back. Strong plank. Start bending the knees, sinking the hips to the heels of the feet. Exhale, hips to the sky to downward facing dog. Inhale, make that transition, find that plank. Right knee to the mat, opposite side in that modified plank. Make that adjustment. Left hand to the mat, turning the upper body forward, extending right foot back. Sink those heels back to the feet, bend those knees. Inhale, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, find that plank. Left knee to the mat as we find that modified side plank. Exhale. Inhale, make that transition to your plank. Sinking the hips back to the heels of the feet. Take an inhale, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, find that plank. Keep the movements going. Right knee to the mat. Modifying that side plank on the opposite side. I do invite you to get into your own movement here. A breath and movement. Few more times. I'm on my right knee to the mat, going into that modified side plank. Finding my strong plank, left knee to the mat, going into that modified side plank. I now invite you finding that downward facing dog today. Taking 5 breaths. I now invite you to find that tabletop position. We're going to take the knees a little bit wider today. Big toes are going to be touching. Taking a breath in. Exhale, sink the hips closer to the heels of those feet, settling to that child's pose today. We're going to take 5 to 8 breaths. I now invite you, make that transition as you find that easy pose. We're going to start those movements one more time as you take right hand beside you on the mat. Deep breath in, left hand towards the sky as you extend it over on that exhale to the right side. Find that seated side stretch today. We're going to start walking those hands over to that left side, grounding left palm to the mat, big circle with that right arm and hand up as you settle to that side stretch. Start making that circular motion, walking hands to the right. Take that right hand to the mat. Big circle with the left hand and arm, settling to that side stretch. I do invite you, get into your own movements, breath and flow here. Being mindful of how that body's feeling. One more time, each side. Taking it, hands walking to center. We're going to exhale. Maybe imagine those hands are cupping some cupcakes as fingertips are to the ground. We're going to take 5 breaths right where we are. Your eyes can be open, gaze soft or closed today, your choice. I now invite you, start walking those hands closer into your body, settling to that easy pose. We're now going to make that transition, finding that tabletop, taking it to all fours. We're going to start that fluid movement with our cow and our cat. So we're going to start dropping that belly, open the chest, yogi gaze upward. Exhale, chin to the chest, navel to the spine, gaze to the mat. Automatic inhale, transition, open through that chest, yogi gaze upward. Exhale, chin to the chest, navel to that low spine as we gaze to our mat. And keep this flow moving like liquid through the spine. Use that breath. Make that connection. Union. Yoga. And take it back to that tabletop. We're going to walk those hands, maybe just one palm in front of the other. And then take those hands, tucking toes. We're going to take an inhale as we lift the hips to the sky. Find that downward facing dog today. Lift through the tippy toes. Start bending those knees, sinking hips to the heels of the feet. Inhale. Exhale. Make that transition to your down dog. Relaxing those toes. Take a breath in as you take that body to that strong plank, and automatically left knee to the mat as we make that transition to our side plank. Keep the movements going with the breath. Right hand to the mat, make that adjustment. Find that plank. Exhale, sink the hips to the heels of the feet. Inhale, transition. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, find that plank. Right knee to the mat. Working the opposite side with that modified plank today. Make that transition to your strong plank. We're going to sink the hips to the heels of the feet. Exhale. Inhale, transition. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Left knee to the mat. Turn that body, find that side plank. Make that transition to your strong plank. Slight bend in the knees as you sink the hips to the heels of the feet. Inhale, transition, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Taking right knee to the mat. Make that adjustment as you go into that side plank. Make that transition to your strong plank. Bend those knees, sink the hips to the heels, exhale. Inhale, transition, hips to the sky. Exhale to that downward facing dog. Inhale, making that transition to your plank. Taking both feet to the mat, or both knees to the mat. Open those knees a little bit wider. Exhale, sink hips to the heels of the feet to that child's pose. We're going to take 5 to 8 breaths here. I now invite you, taking that body back to that easy pose today. And we're going to start that movement, those movements, and go through them one more time. I invite you to take the right hand to the side of you on the mat. Deep breath in, left hand towards the sky. Settling to that seated side stretch. Start walking the hands over to the left side. Going right into that side stretch, opposite side. This is a time for you to get into your own flow, movement and breath. Be mindful of how that body's feeling. Keeping those movements going as we gain a little more flexibility today. Few more times each side. And we're going to start walking those hands just to center. Imagine you're cusping cupcakes with those hands, fingertips to the ground here. We're going to take 5 breaths. In through the nose, sigh it out through the mouth. We're going to start walking those hands up into our body, making that transition on all fours to that tabletop. Make those few adjustments, and we're going to go right into our cow and our cat. So drop that belly, open through that chest, yogi gaze upward on that inhale. Exhale, chin to the chest, navel to the low spine, gaze to the mat, and then automatically go right into that cow. Keep the movements going. And finding that strong tabletop, make those adjustments with the hands. Maybe walk them out a little further in front of your body. We're going to start tucking those toes, taking the hips to the sky. Find that downward facing dog. Exhale. We're going to take the body with the tippy toes, lift. Transition to that strong plank. Exhale, bend those knees, hips to the heels of the feet. Inhale, hips to the sky. Exhale, release those heels closer to the mat, finding our downward facing dog. Inhale, tippy toes, transition to that plank. And then take the left knee to the mat, going into that modified side plank. Make that transition to your strong plank. Sinking the hips closer to the heels of our feet. Inhale, transition, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift through the tippy toes. Take the body to that strong plank. Right knee to the mat as we go into that modified plank. Transition to that strong plank. Sinking those hips to the heels of our feet. Exhale. Inhale, transition, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift through those tippy toes. Find that plank. Left knee to the mat, going into that side plank. Transition to your strong plank. On your exhale, bend those knees, hips back to the heels of our feet. Inhale, transition, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift through those tippy toes, plank. Right knee to the mat as we go into that modified plank. Transition the body to your strong plank. Exhale, bend those knees, hips to the heels of the feet. Inhale, hips to the sky. Exhale, downward facing dog. On your inhale, we're going to make a transition. Finding that tabletop, and then make that adjustment as we sink the hips back to the heels of our feet for our child's pose. We're going to take 5 to 8 breaths right where we are. Your eyes can be open, gaze soft or closed today. I now invite you, we're going to take the body, just turning it around on our mat. Feet are going to be to the mat, knees are going to be bent. Hands to the knees, we're going to roll the shoulders a few times here. Shake it off a little bit. I now invite you, we're going to just kind of gently rock the body back as we hug knees to chest today. Exhale, sigh it out here. Feel free to rock the body from side to side. You have the option to embrace the stillness as well. I now invite you, we're going to let that left leg and foot go as we hug the right knee into our chest. Taking a few breaths. We're going to make that transition to our supine twist. So just let the right hand go beside you on the mat as you continue to hug that right knee with the left hand. We're going to breathe in and then start slowly taking the right knee to the left side as you gaze to your right. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. I now invite you to roll the body back on that mat, hugging both those knees to the chest. And then we're going to let that right leg and foot go as we hug left knee to the body. Releasing the left hand beside you on the mat. Continue to hug left knee with that right hand. Breath in, and then start taking left knee over to the right as you gaze to the left. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Just roll that body back. Take both those knees, hug them tight into the chest. Give yourself a good body hug. We're going to release the knees, release the feet to the mat. We're going to take the hands to the belly. I invite you to take 5 breaths where you are. This is a time to just tune in a little deeper here today. Being mindful of how that body's feeling. Being mindful of the gentle rise and fall of our tummies today. I now invite you, we're going to take the feet closer together. We're going to take an inhale through our nose. On your exhale, let those knees fall to the side of your mat. Keeping the hands to the tummy. And we're going to take 5 breaths here. I now invite you to extend those legs. Let the hands just fall to the side of the body on your mat or the ground. This is a time we're going to settle into our stillness with our breath, finding our Shavasana pose. I invite you to close the eyes, relaxing the forehead and jawline. Just continue here with normal breath.